Well, it's happy hour here at CBS Sports HQ, and it's been a busy few days in the quarterback world. Most of the drama actually came from the trade market when the Lions swapped Matthew Stafford for the Rams' Jared Goff, and the Philadelphia Eagles shipped Carson Wentz to the Colts for draft picks. With that said, we've had a fair share of free agent deals going down over the last few days. To break it all down, we have Brady Quinn and Pete Prisco here. Guys, we're going to start in Chicago. Now, the Bears declined to pick up that fifth-year option on Mitchell Trubisky's contract, and they wanted an upgrade. So they wanted Russell Wilson. We're going to get to that just in a moment. But they moved on to Andy Dalton. 1 year, $10 million. Pete, do you like it?
I mean, he's better than Nick Foles, but so is Brady Quinn, even at his advanced age. So, I mean, it's a move they had to make. They had to get somebody. They were trying to be aggressive. They tried to get Russell Wilson, and they couldn't pry him loose. So when you can't pry him loose, you get Andy Dalton. But here's the thing. Ryan Pace, the general manager, and Matt Nagy, the coach, have to win this year. So they're putting all their chips into the middle with Andy Dalton and Nick Foles. God bless them. And I like Andy Dalton. I think Andy Dalton's done some good things in his career, and I actually think he's better than Nick Foles and will win the job. But if my job's on the line, I think I'd like to go with somebody a little bit better than that if I could.
Look, I like this signing if they couldn't get Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, which for whatever reason, you know, we heard all this talk about Chicago going all in on Russell Wilson. What about Deshaun Watson? I know Houston says they're not going to trade him, and they only say that until the offer is right. So I'm not even so sure that Chicago's potentially out of this race right now. I think you could leverage however many picks you want that you sent to Seattle. Try calling up Houston. See if you can get, Deshaun Watson along, with sending Andy Dalton to go with that group down there to Houston, and maybe you can get the quarterback that helps save their job. But the truth is, too, Andy Dalton's better than I think a lot of people give him credit. Last year, he was given a tough task. First year with the team in a different system, having to go in as the backup quarterback, not being prepared in a year you didn't have an offseason. So the reality is he started playing his best football there towards the end. I think he'll be fine there in Chicago. The problem is, again, how many reps will he get? It's going to be a quarterback battle most likely with him and Nick Foles. So even though this looks like he's going to be the guy, I'm still not so sure. I'm still not so sure that Chicago's not done trying to find an upgrade at the quarterback spot.
I want to go back to that Russell Wilson situation. So the reports were saying that the Bears and Seahawks GMs met in North Dakota to discuss the potential move, and then they waited a little bit too long, and that's when Pete Carroll nixed the entire situation. So were you surprised that the Bears were going all in on Russell?
No, I think any team that's looking for an upgrade at quarterback is going to call up the Seattle Seahawks or Houston Texans. I mean, why not? And by the way, 3 first-round picks, throw in a 4th. Who cares? If you have Russell Wilson, he's still in the prime of his career. He's going to be a lot better than whatever you're going to do in the first round for the next 4 years. Here's the problem. Seattle's not going to trade Russell Wilson because they're not going to get anyone back in exchange for Russell Wilson, and they're probably going to have a hard time even trying to find that person in the draft over the next 4 or 5 years. So the reality is Russell Wilson is going to be playing for the Seattle Seahawks until he tells them, much like Deshaun Watson in Houston, that he doesn't want to play there anymore. And then he forces their hand to have to trade him. So at this point, there really is no offer that's worthwhile for Russell because he's too valuable for that team. They would look terrible for moving on from a guy that is the only reason you even put them at potentially one of the teams that could win the NFC West division. If he's not on this team, that's the worst team in the NFC West.
All right, we're going to move on to Tyrod Taylor.
Don't trade him.
Go for it, Pete. Don't trade him.
No, I'm saying don't trade Russell Wilson. Don't trade Deshaun Watson. Period. End of story. All you have to do is look at the Bears. The Bears are Exhibit A on how you try and fix the quarterback position when you don't have one. They blew it on Mitch Trubisky, and now they're scrambling. The Texans have one. He's 25. The Seahawks have one. He's Russell Wilson. He's in the MVP conversation. Why on earth would you get rid of either one of those two? And you can sit here and tell me, oh, they might not play. Deshaun Watson will sit out. What's he going to do? He's going to have to pay back money. He's only got so many earning years in that body. You're going to sit out his second year next year? It's ridiculous. Don't trade either one of them. The irony in it is this. Could you imagine, Brady, and you mentioned the Bears. The Bears passed on Deshaun Watson to take and trade up for Mitch Trubisky. Could you imagine if they had to give up like 4 or 5 number ones to try and go get him now?
That's what I'm hoping will happen, is the amount of draft compensation they'll have to give up to be able to go and get him now. I guess you could say that they'll be paying for their past discretions. So.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, Really clear thoughts on that, Pete. Thank you for that. We're going to move on to Tyrod Taylor now, and we're really hoping his luck changes. If we do a quick recap here, he helped the Bills to the playoffs in 2017. He was traded to Cleveland in 2018. He gets concussed, never gets his job back, then signs with the Chargers, was going to start in 2020, but then his lung is punctured by an injection from the team doctor. He never got his job back. So here's to hoping things are a little bit better for him in Houston, but you have the whole Deshaun Watson situation, as Pete was just mentioning. So what's going on with the Texans? How do you think this is going to play out?
Well, look, they needed him for depth to start off with. You know, A.J. McCarron's a free agent. Watson says he's not going to play. I mean, as of right now, if you had practice, there's no one out there behind center. So at least you got Tyrod Taylor now. He's got experience. He's been successful before. And here's the reality. If Deshaun Watson does elect to sit out this season, which it seems that he's going to be stubborn, he's going to do that, at least Tyrod Taylor can go in there as your starter and be an experienced guy behind center, whether it's for eventually Watson to come back or for potentially, if you decide to move on, whoever you would end up drafting. The only problem is if they use a first-round draft pick, the Houston Texans this is, on a quarterback, you can most assuredly bet that he's going to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year, because the last 2 times he's been on a team that have done that, Baker Mayfield in Cleveland, he went on to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, then Justin Herbert for the LA Chargers, who went on to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. So if I'm Tyrod Taylor, I'm just hoping that they don't draft a first-round quarterback, because he's most assuredly going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, he better hope like heck they don't trade Deshaun Watson and end up with like the number 2 overall pick from the Jets and draft the guy, because that guy will definitely start at some point during the season, whether Tyrod Taylor wins the job or not, and he's going to win Rookie of the Year. You feel bad for Tyrod Taylor. I hear he's a great teammate and a great guy to be around, but he is a backup quarterback in this league, and that's why they got him. They got him just in case Watson's not there, like you mentioned, Brady, but also in case they are forced to draft a quarterback early in the draft. It's good to have a veteran around, but I'll tell you what, can you imagine that scenario playing out again? Tyrod Taylor starts the first 2 games and then they yank him to play the rookie. That won't feel very good for him.
Hopefully things work out in his favor this year. All right, we're going to move over to the Washington football team. Ron Rivera releasing Alex Smith. Now they get Ryan Fitzpatrick, a 1-year deal, $10 million, up to $12 million in incentives. So Washington will be his 9th franchise as he heads into season 17, which is crazy to even think about. What does this look like? How does it all play out in Washington? Well,
I mean, look, I think you could say it's an upgrade based on what they had playing last year and how Ryan Fitzpatrick played last year. Yeah, I think he can run this system. The difference is with Washington, he doesn't have as much help out around him. You know, outside of Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas, who developed over the course of the year, Gibson and McKissick in the backfield, they don't have quite as many weapons. So this roster needs some help to add some explosiveness. But I don't think he's going to have to necessarily light the world on fire, because they've got a defense that are going to keep, scores low, given that front 7 that they've got. So, look, this is an upgrade based on what they had, and that's not any disrespect to Alex Smith, but he wasn't as mobile as he was before the injury, and that takes away an element of his game. Ryan Fitzpatrick still has a little bit of that, but the bottom line is the Washington football team is probably not done. They're most likely going to draft a quarterback in this year's draft who could potentially be eventually replacing Ryan Fitzpatrick. At least that's how I see it, Pete.
I don't think they are. Talking to people around that organization, they didn't feel like they'd be in a position to get one of those top guys. So I think they're going to play with Ryan Fitzpatrick this year, and he's going to be their starting quarterback. And look, all he has to do is throw a touchdown pass this year and go for 23 more teams, and he can play for every team in the league if he plays that long. Hey, look how long Brady's playing. I mean, my gosh. He's bounced around, but he is the kind of guy that Brady mentioned it, if this defense is what it was a year ago, they're significantly better than they were a year ago, because he's better than what they had. He's better than Alex Smith. He's better than Taylor Heineke, who, by the way, had the best playoff performance against Tampa Bay's defense of all the quarterbacks. But they had to find a veteran. I do think that at some point in this draft, though, Brady, they have to draft a young quarterback. I just don't think it's going to be in the top of the draft.
Well, it all depends on who falls them. I guess my only question to you is, Pete, Kyle Allen's still on the roster. Ron Rivera's high on him. He brought him to the Washington football team from Carolina. But you have never really been as, I guess, high on Kyle Allen potentially being the guy. But it sounds like they're good with the quarterbacks they have in their roster, Pete.
Well, I wouldn't play with any of those guys other than Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I'm not a big fan for the long term of Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think he has a streakiness to him. He'll look great for 3 games and look awful for 2 games, but he's better than what Alex Smith was a year ago. He's better than Heineke, and he's certainly better than Kyle Allen.
You know, it's funny. Someone on CBS Sports had called Ryan Fitzpatrick the helium balloon. I can't remember who it was, but someone had called him that once. Oh, that was you, Pete. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That was me.
I had no idea it was you, Pete.
Oh, that's good. He's also one of the smartest men that I've been around in my life.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Not Pete Prisco. Not Pete.
Love you, Pete, but let's be real.
No, I went to Harvard, too, the Harvard of the West.
Mm-hmm. Of course you did.
Oh, boy.
All right, our final quarterback situation we're going to discuss here is New Orleans. So, obviously, we knew that Drew Brees was going to retire. James Winston re-signed that one-year, $5.5 million contract. Winston's now in competition with Taysom Hill for that starting job. So, Pete, what are your thoughts on this one?
Competition? If Jameis Winston can't beat out Taysom Tebow, then he shouldn't be in the league as a starter. Taysom Tebow can't pass the football. He's a gimmick. He can run the ball. He's athletic. He should be playing wide receiver. He's not a quarterback in the National Football League. Jameis Winston is. Yes, he threw a lot of interceptions. He made a lot of mistakes, but he threw a ton of passes when trailing in Tampa Bay. If you go back and look at the data, he threw a lot of passes trailing by more than 7 even. And it's hard to play quarterback at times that way when guys are teeing off on you. So I think this is an easy competition. As much as Sean Payton loves Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston will be the starting quarterback. The question after that, though, Brady, is how many times a game do they take him off the field and stick the gimmick on the field?
Oh, man, there's just so much of what Pete just said there. Here's the deal. If you look at the pure contract, the numbers, and there's not really much to look at in regards to Taysom Hill after this year because there was voidable years thrown on. It's an inflated number, but it's really to reduce Taysom Hill's hit under the salary cap this year. But all that being said, he is making more money than what at least Jameis Winston is being guaranteed under his current deal. So the money is betting on Taysom Hill, at least starting the season as the guy, and then we'll see from there. But I'm with Pete on this one. I think Jameis Winston is better suited and has more skill actually at playing the quarterback position. And so I am anticipating him winning this job if it indeed it is a quarterback competition. But again, usually you follow the money. And in this case, Taysom Hill is being paid a little bit more this year for his services. However, that could be factored into the fact that he does play tight end, wide receiver, running back, special teams, all these other things. That's going to be a part of the equation as well. But again, Jameis Winston should be the guy going into this season.
Do you think Hill is that gimmicky QB that Prisco's talking about, though?
Well, the difference is I think Taysom has shown the propensity to throw the football better at the NFL level. And obviously, Sean Payton, who's a great judge of talent, he wouldn't stick up for him and continue to talk to him and say, hey, he's going to be the guy if Drew Brees gets hurt like he started last year. So I think that's a big credit to him. But, you know, he's a more effective passer than Tebow was.
Yeah, well, not by much, though. I mean, he is a better passer than Tebow. Look, Sean Payton's affinity for this kid goes way back. I remember before he even started playing him, he said, look, I got a young quarterback that I really like, and I think he's going to end up being a really good player. And I said, who? He said, Taysom Hill. I said, are you kidding me? And he's still stuck by that. And he loves the kid. And Brady's right. He will probably get the first shot. But if he's the starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, they aren't making the postseason, I can tell you that.
Pete, let me ask you this. I mean, obviously, besides the fact that, you know, Tebow is left-handed, Taysom is right-handed, can you show me the throwing motion? Can we get back to the one shot where you show me the difference between the two throwing motions?
This is Hill, and this is Tebow. Take your pick.
Oh, boy. Made for television, Pete Prisco. That is
he's the best.
He's the absolute best. All right. I'm going to leave you guys after the break. My girl Amanda Guerra is going to join the crew to talk about winners and losers. Do the big spenders come out on top? That's next on CBS Sports HQ.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.